Well, thank you everybody for coming tonight. This is a conversation that we're going to be having with our cousin Bibi, and I wanted to engage with Bibi because this is Delbra, and this is breaking through these brick walls. Well, cousin Bibi, I've actually connected with her, I think in my Alabama group, and then she's also in the Catoctin group. And as I looked at her tree and I looked at all of her information, pedigree, her maternal and her paternal are all Puerto Rico. And I had no clue. I'm like, how in the world am I related to you? And when we got into Catoctin, and actually outside of the Catoctin project, I've started having conversations with the Catoctin group about the slaves out of Frederick did not rear from Frederick. They came from somewhere. And therefore, they would have come from the Calvert and Arundel, Annapolis. And so, as we're looking to try to understand how to find our ancestors, she then helped me to figure out, or helped me to, she shared with me how she's connected to me through the Queen, Mary Papa Queen, and it was extensive, and I was floored with just how she has the techniques to be able to stand up quickly, how she's connected, especially to all these ancient and these our other ancestors. So I'm so grateful for her to be here tonight. But what she's going to help us to do, as we see on her slide, is how to deep dive a deeper level of Gedmatch. So thank you, cousin Bibi, and may you take the floor.
Okay. So I'm Bibiopia, which means mother of spirits, which fits perfectly because I am working with the dead. And I'm sorry, I understand that I have a skill set because I was a network specialist, but I feel guided by our ancestors. Okay, so the first slide is the beginning. You have uploaded your DNA, you have your unique number, so you want to do a comparison with one another. So you go to your autosomal. I assume everybody knows how to compare autosomal here in this group. You enter both kit numbers, you take and check position only. Because if you leave your graphics on, you're gonna see a whole bunch of a big mess, not something that you could take a snapshot of. Right above the CM is the SNPs threshold. Now, this is a very important area. By default, it goes to 185. But unfortunately, not all systems work like they're supposed to, even Gedmatch. So I usually lower it to 100. In indigenous nations, they lower it to 25 because those SNPs exist in our DNA. If they didn't, we wouldn't be able to compare them. Okay? So taking it at 25 is super extreme. Lowering it to 100 makes everything above 185 pop. Okay? So we have the comparison between my husband and I. So it's over we have one that's two of them that's over 5 centimeters, centimorgans. So what we do is we take our browser back because we're dealing in a browser. We hit the back button and we change that 3 to a 5 because we always want to check 3 first to see how many chromosomes we share. Sometimes we share so many chromosomes, it's ridiculous, but they're all threes. It means it's a very distant relationship, but it's strong. But you get a 5, you could get a MRCA number. Okay, so if see, we share 2 chromosomes, 15 and 17, my husband and I. And you see at the bottom it says 7.1. That is the distance. I can't move out the way. Okay, of our MRCA. That is our common relative. So now we have an idea how far or how close our relation is. Now, for the man that didn't want to know how we're connected, we are connected 100 gazillion ways. Okay, I was in this area where the Bauman Zorat. He's German on my father's side. And he tells me, nope, don't do it. And it's like the ancestors heard and they're gone. We have found out every which way to Sunday how we are related. So now we have our connection, right? So now we want to know, is this a female or a male connection? So now we use the X, which is our female chromosome, to check to see if we connect via a female or a male. So if we don't have a female connection, we will have nothing that joins us in the X. It doesn't matter any kit you test, there will be no connection. Okay, and I always suggest to lower the centimorgans for everything at 3. You want to look at it at the lowest that you can, and each test will allow you to lower only at a certain amount. Okay, so now we go to the administrator utility. There are many things to do, but this I'm using the DecoCAD, right? And in the DecoCAD, see, you can see the DecoCAD at the bottom. Um, we are comparing against 2 kits, right? Now, if you want to only check your kit, then you go to the admixture portion, just the top one, and you use Oracle. And use Oracle 4. It gives you the most intense information. Okay. So in the DecoCAD, we're choosing World 9 to make sure we have the 2 numbers that you want to compare. So I have a little scrap pad that I write. It's got every number that I encounter that I have to compare with. So in World 9, this is a comparison between my two of my numbers. All the brown is all the African that I have. I have Morocco, I have Sierra Leone, I have Nigeria, I have Kenya, I have Egypt. It's massive. The amount of area that my African DNA covers. And I'm Puerto Rican. But of course, in this DNA, you see the red, that's the Indian that came up in this test. Okay. Again, these are my 2 numbers, but now this is a different test. This is a HelioX, but you're doing the K10 Africa only. So here, as you can see, all the tools they're free and they improve on them all the time. Um, it compares all 22 chromosomes. So when you're comparing between one person and another, the autosomal is great. It gives you numbers. But the paints, they were a visual of how we are connected, what makes us connected. Because sometimes I'll have a connection with a person and it will be through my European side versus my indigenous or my African side. So now we've probed every inch of the every tool. Feel free to enter all the tools and explore them. So now we're going to go to 3D chromosome browser, and you could enter up to 10 kits, but usually I've done up to 5 kits and then I've gone to the next step after this. But if you could do 3 and sit down and look, take in the information, because remember at the very bottom, you got to change the centimorgans to 3. And you have to be precise on the numbers, because if not, you'll be there forever entering 10 people. But it will show you all the chromosomes and SNPs that you share. Okay, so now it gives you a whole bunch of information. You see how it says the kit numbers and it talks about segments. I did three. I reduced it just to three people: my husband, myself, and Atuna Unaro. Atuna Unaro is 1,000-year-old indigenous woman from the Caribbean. Um, my husband matches her, which is funny, but that's because he has a 10th grade grandfather from the Wanapog, and the Wanapogs interbreeded with Taino women. So he has 1% Taino. I can't tell you how much we all giggled on that. So now we take all the information and we highlight it. Once we have it highlighted and copied, we're going to ChatGPT. Now, I use a free version. I've had this for years. I've been using AI to play around with and mess around, and it's fantastic. But for free, you can only do so much for so long. After a few questions, it stops answering. You got to wait till the next day when it resets. But if you want to pay for it, my friends do a whole bunch of other things that I can't do. But that's okay because you can still jump around like I do. Just that we're going to do it at a smaller pace. So we reduce these to three Gedmatch numbers. We copied the information and we put it. So now it's giving me the information, the summary of what, in plain Jane English, of what it was that we fed it. So if you don't understand Gedmatch, ChatGPT is going to tell you in plain Jane English what it is that you're looking at. And this is my African diaspora, the Spanish colonial, the areas that genetically we Puerto Ricans have, and an example of our culture, and like I was saying before, my mother had a Yoruba deity, and my son remembered it, my oldest one, and he goes, "Mom, go see if you can find me one." Oh, they wanted $65 for it. I'm like, "Oh no, we're not." We took cement, and I had seashells, and I made the elegua because I was raised with the elegua. Okay, we believed in Santeria, which is African. Okay, we believe in dancing. The bomba. The bomba is African. So these are all things that our African ancestors left us. But we are all Afro-Indigenous. I give you any money that once you guys start testing, and remember, if you lower the SNPs to 25, that's every chromosome that you both have is going to pop up. And even if just two have five, you could get a distance how far or close your relation is. So, anybody have any questions?
There's a couple in the chat, but mine's pretty much were for at the end. And then we'll do a demonstration with ChatGPT as well when we do the what internet demonstrations, okay?
Okay.
Okay.
So this is the end of my paper demonstration. So now it's up to you to go to Gedmatch and collect the information. I've given you where is it? Okay. You see my numbers there and Neil's and Atuna Onaro. You see GZ, AV, SC, and QK at the very top. Those are our numbers. QK is Atuna Unaro. That's the first one I want everybody to go to Gedmatch right now and do. Go and compare yourself to that QK8102408 number. I know that number by heart. That's how many times I've had to input it to compare people with it.
So
So
I'm going to
I
share
want
my screen
okay.
so that I can compare myself to you as a demonstration while they're walking through it the same way. Okay.
Okay.
I think that'll be an easy way for people to understand how to engage with the different tools on ChatGPT. I mean, on Gedmatch to
Dead
start.
match.
It's to Gedmatch to start.
Right. The idea of taking it out to ChatGPT is to go to the next level. People are being left behind with the AI technology.
Absolutely.
So the idea was to give you the presentation, and one day we'll do a chat GPT, presentation, with active videos showing,
Right.
asking the question, asking the next question. So chat GPT continues answering.
My only other question is regarding this a tuna that her name the tuna Inaru.
Now,
How
hmm
did you get the Gedmatch Kid ID for this ancient person?
I have a list of almost every Taino, every Indian nation here in America.
Really?
Yes. And I'm willing to share it so you guys can
Please,
look,
cousin. Please.
So I'll be sending you that list
Awesome.
via messenger so then you could share it forward.
Okay, awesome.
Okay, because that's the thing. So I'm going to share everything here with you guys. You guys are going to get to play around and learn to match. Now I do want to find some African jet match numbers next.
Okay,
So I am on the prowl.
awesome. I'm starting with the basics. So there's two ways to engage with the menu on Gedmatch. You have the top free tools. So what she's speaking to is all of these are options that are free that you don't have to pay for. The
Right.
tier one are the options that you do have to pay for. So she's
And you know what? I know tons of friends that have tier one, and I do circles with what I do versus the tier one. The
right,
only thing I ever was interested in tier one was the evil twin, and I'm sorry, it's not worth the money they're asking for to
right,
see my
right.
evil twin. Really? Mm-mm.
So as we step through this, I think what was the first option we were choosing? Under free tools, we didn't do
Okay,
one to one.
so we're doing the auto sumo,
So we're
one
going
to
to select
one.
the autosomal.
Right. So
Okay.
now put your number there
And
and Atuna,
oh,
QK 810-2408. Now position only
hold
to
on.
the
Yes.
next.
Yep, I do that.
Okay.
And
And
then
now
down here,
we're gonna don't go too far. Right there in the snips, you're gonna take that to 100. We're gonna start with 100. Okay. And then you're gonna change the centimorgans to 3.
yep. I've
And
always
now
done three centimorgans. I just never mess with the snips. So okay. So now the snips we want to look at is 100.
right.
Okay, then
Yeah,
we'll
because the system, I was noticing that people that matched me, see, it took, we lowered it to 100, but look, this all the snips are 164, 148, 228, 144. Those would have not shown up with 185. But those snips exist.
yep.
You and Atuna Onaru share. Now, when we got jiggy with it, take your browser, take it back. Ah, take it back. Okay, now go up there, the snips, change it to 20. No, the
No,
snips, you
I
take it
just
to 25.
got so snips right here.
Right there, take that to 25. Now run it.
On the screen, after you type in the kits and you do position only,
Right.
you ignore that first text field.
Okay.
In the next one, what we're doing now with me is we're taking it either to 100 or 25.
Okay. I put at 25.
Okay. And then the minimum centimorgans you want to do is 3.
Yeah. Okay.
And then run it. That's it.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. So what she's saying is when we had 100, I only had 4. But once I change the SNPs down to 25, I have more centimorgans that are visible. And
And you have some that are 5.
I see that. I see.
5.3 is your highest centimorgan. So now go back and change that centimorgan to a 5.
Really?
From 3 to a 5. A 5 will give you a MRCA number
The
telling you the distance, 7.7.
Oh, okay.
Now, here's the issue. Okay, so there is a difference between doing DNA the way we're doing it
Yes.
and genealogy. I like to play. I have the ability to link anybody and everybody. That's why my tree looks the way it does.
That's right.
But
That's right.
here we could tell how far we are really related to one another. 7.7. That is the distance
So what she's saying
of
is
our ancestor.
I came to my tree. So we're going to go back to Gedmatch. So the Merca, we call it Merca, MRCA, is the common ancestor that we're connected to.
Right.
So
So
for
it's almost the eighth great
almost the eighth
generation.
generation, almost the
Right.
eighth generation. So in ancestry, this first section is 5 generations.
Mm-hmm.
And so somewhere between probably any one of these, but I'll go further with one of my further ones. So if this is 5, this is 6, this is 7, this is 8. And when I'm saying 7 and 8, depending on what ancestor we would research, the 8th generation ancestor, whether depending on which of my ancestors, right? It could be any one of these. But
Right.
for me, it would be not the European ones that I have. So it hypothetically could be Mary Queen Pawpaw, which is what I was speaking with her about, which
Mm-hmm.
which is the first indentured servant that came here to America, and we could talk about that
Right.
shortly.
And I was able to make a genealogy connection to her from my line. So
So yeah, it'll be
that
cool.
fits because Atuna and I share a lot of
So you're closer to
DNA.
6, but I'm further back. Okay. So
Mm-hmm.
what I want you to, so in what you're looking at in my tree is I'm connecting to a lot more European. So that's a European person. This is a European person. These would not be the people that I'm looking to connect to a tuna with. I'm going to be looking to connect to my
I've got news for you.
enslaved.
Most people that show up that they have Taino and indigenous
Huh?
in their lines, they usually have Sir Francis Drake or his idiot cousin that drowned at the coast of Puerto Rico. They were slave traders. Queen Elizabeth I sent Sir Francis Drake to put monkey wrench in the Spaniards' operation in the Caribbean. That's why they were there. And in the meanwhile, the cousin was slave trading. You know that he ended up being a relative of mine because one of my Montalvo lines married a great granddaughter of his. I'm like, really?
So what I hear you saying is, so my interpretation was not necessarily correct. It could have
No.
been
It
European
could be
ancestors
one of your Europeans that
for
had a child with
the slave.
a slave. That's
Right.
right.
So to the point that you've just made, when I say European, so even though I have my enslaved ancestors,
I got birds in my tree on
okay,
my Puerto Rican side.
know you everywhere with me. Yeah, the birds were definitely free persons of color.
Hmm.
Um, and they were free persons of color a great deal of it because someone had sex with a European. So,
Hmm.
so these were definitely free persons of color, where she's speaking to the birds, but they butt up against the bunches, and the bunches are related to Barack Obama.
Right. I got Barack Obama on my tree too.
So the conversation she's having with me is somewhere in this line in here is at least one of the connections I have with Bibi,
Right.
because I
And
know
I
that
have bunches in my
connect
tree as well.
bunches and she connects to Barack. So me and her would investigate this line. So let me ask. So Rhonda has a question, and okay, Rhonda, yes, ma'am.
So my question is so I got lost somewhere. So because I showed like no matches, and then when I dropped the centimorgans down to 3,
Yep.
I got um like several, more than 2, 4, 6, 8, maybe 8, you know,
Rhonda, were any of them over 5?
no, 4.9. 4.9 is the largest.
Okay, did you drop the SNPs to 25?
Yes, that's when they showed up when I dropped them to 25. They didn't show up before then.
So did you try
Okay,
100 first?
Yes, I did.
And they didn't
yes.
show up for 100. Okay.
Yeah, not everybody's going to match.
Right.
Right.
Again, we have 46 chromosomes. We get 23 from each parent, and we have no idea which 23. I got a brother and sister that refuse to do DNA tests. Infuriating as it is, there is no way of telling who inherited what. I have a
Right.
niece that did a test, so I have an idea what my niece got from my sister,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
you know?
I got a
But
lot of
it
relatives.
don't
I'm gonna try a few
necessarily
more.
match me. And the information it gives me is that my brother-in-law, my ex-brother-in-law, is also related to me. So that means he's also related to my sister. Blah.
Got
I
So
it.
understand. Okay.
even if
So,
you get no connections with this particular person, that doesn't mean that you're not going to connect to any of the other numbers.
or try your brother or your cousin or your
Yeah.
mom. You know what I
I'm,
mean?
yeah, I'm trying what my cousin Alton now.
Perfect, perfect.
Yeah.
So I think so. My understanding of what Bibi was saying regarding changing the SNPs and why she probably had me go to 5. So, and I'm gonna walk through this from the beginning because Bibi, this has helped me a lot. I'm not
Over again.
perfect.
Let's
No, no,
do
no,
it.
no,
Let's
no,
repeat it
no,
10
no.
times if we have to.
I'm doing this on purpose. I'm doing
Mm-hmm.
this on purpose. So I will. So normally when I've done my Gedmatch
Oh.
using autosomal, I would say, I would just say lower it to 3, use the defaults. So
Oh,
using Tuna's kit and only going to 3, when I 3 centimorgans, when I hit compare, I have nothing with her, right? So what Bibi says is, okay, well then start with 100 to see do you have any chromosomes that you could be matched on. So when I changed the SNPs to 100, and
Mm-hmm.
so I was able to get some. Here's the chromosomes that we're matching on over here in the first column, and then here's the centimorgans. So what happens is we're trying to figure out where is the common ancestor. Because I've always said that's the money. That's going to tell us at what
that's where the bank is. Yep.
that's the ancestor that is common between me and this person. So right now I have a bunch of 3s. And so if I come back here and I change these I'm already at 3 centimorgans. And
Mm-hmm.
so that didn't tell me a common ancestor. So she had me lower the SNPs a little lower to 25.
Mm-hmm.
When I lowered it to 25, I pulled a few more people, a few more chromosomes, but the 5 was by itself.
Yeah.
And if you have one that's by itself, that now when I say, okay, well then let's look for centimorgan 5, 5 centimorgans, and keep it at 25. And because I was able to, so now I'm going to change this to a 5 from a 3 because I want to call that one out, that one result out. So when I change this to a 5 from a 3 and I hit compare, it showed me the one chromosome 19. I'm sorry, I meant to say centimorgans. It showed me chromosome 19 is where I match a tuna, 5.3 centimorgans, and now it can tell me who is the common ancestor.
What's the
Because
distance? Because, okay, in 1661, there was a revolt in the East Coast, and indigenous and African slaves were sent to the Caribbean, and many made it back to the US. So there's been this pish posh, and they just call you guys African Americans. But a lot of you share DNA with the Caribbean, with the natives, because we were all intermixed. That's our admixture. But these companies are only buying certain data. That's why I did every test under the sky. Okay, this because I wanted to be 100% sure, and I wanted to see all the information of my DNA. So you guys have indigenous in you. It's not just the European. And now think about it. The European, you got Europeans from different areas, because I got European and it's less than my indigenous, but the European is divided in between from the center of Europe to Spain, where Spain is at. So it's not necessarily just the Spaniards. It's the pish posh of people that were in Europe before all these people became, organized countries. Because you know that Spain came to be because the Italians and the French stepped in and taught them how to be a government after the Visigoths. But you all have, I'm going to give you the list. You guys are going to get to play with every number to every nation that I've been able. Some numbers don't work already. They changed them every now and then. They flip-flop them. But you'll be able to go see who you where in our chromosome society we fit. And this is just a very simple little change. Yeah.
So
But five is the one that gives you the MRCA number.
right. So I purposely
Anything lower
changed.
doesn't give you. It gives you all the chromosomes you match,
Right. I
but it
purposely
doesn't give you
changed
the
it to
MRCA.
I changed it to a 4
Mm-hmm.
because to prove the point that when it has too many different chromosomes that it's pulling and different when it has too many different centimorgans, then it can't tell me who's my common ancestor. The
No,
5 was
that's not it. Anything 5 or above gives you the common ancestor.
oh
Anything
really?
below a 5 gives you nothing.
No,
But
no.
it gives you all the chromosomes that you
True.
share.
True.
3 will give you every chromosome. And let me tell you, I've had people that they test and they have all 3s going down the list, but they got a lot of them. Okay, so even those 3s count because they're there for both people. If they were not there, they wouldn't show up.
Okay, so we would play between 25 and 100 in order to
Right.
be able to see, but knowing me, I'll
Right.
stick
And the 100 you saw
okay.
that you put 100 and the standard it starts at 185. See?
Yes.
185 to 214 SNPs.
Right.
So your 160 SNPs would have not shown up if you would have been doing just a standard.
Okay. So that helps us to figure out how to tweak the SNPs so that we can
Right.
actually see. And
So
now
now you're
anything
going to go and check your X chromosome.
correct. Okay, awesome. Okay. So
Aha.
the next one is the X, and that's under free tools, 1-to-1 X, right?
Right. That's our female chromosome, 23rd chromosome.
Okay, so this is me and a tuna.
Right. Position only.
Should only.
You're going to move the centimorgans to 3. No, you're not going to touch the SNPs here. You're going to change the
Down here.
centimorgans to 3.
Yep.
And
And
then you're going to compare it. Nothing.
let me
Okay, so now go back, and now you could move the SNPs to 25 or 100, wherever you
have to do the SNP.
prefer.
25, because that's where the 5 was at on 25.
Right. Ha. So that means you and her share, even though it's not a 5, you share a female relative.
Which makes
Nice, right?
sense, which would be the slave. But this is chromosome 23, not 19, which is where 5 was.
But that's the point. 19 was in your autosomal. 23 is your female, your mother's chromosome. So
Oh,
that means this is on your mother's side.
maternal side. Okay.
Your mother's side is what matches a tunonaro.
So we share a common female
Female relative. Yeah.
relative, which would be a slave. If it said male, if it okay, a female relative, which would be a slave, which is what
Hmm.
I would have thought. Okay, so now let's
But
do.
and not everybody matches a female relative. There are quite a few that it's a male relative. It's autosomal only. It's male.
Oh,
Awesome.
okay.
That's why we check the X chromosome. A lot of people don't check it, but it's an important factor of knowing how to figure out where we might connect with somebody, with a nation, or
Mm.
with a particular person, or what makes us, complete. And like I said, history has made a mishmash of all our genealogy. Puerto Ricans have Africans, Africans have Taino, have indigenous in them, and not just indigenous from the Caribbean. Everybody that started in Siberia, that was there, they were there for thousands of years. They were no longer the people that were in Siberia. They crossed the straits. They implanted all the indigenous in Alaska, all the indigenous in Canada, all the indigenous in North America, in Mexico, Central America, all the indigenous in South America, and we Tainos are the last in the Caribbean.
Mm.
We are the last in the Caribbean, but the first to have gotten attacked by the Europeans. That's why our history is verbal. It's mostly been passed down verbally, you know.
Mhm.
And a lot of the information that was collected by the Spaniards that didn't quite understand the Taino, so they like Taino was written Tayno. That was the original way that the Spaniards wrote Taino. And the story goes that Christopher Columbus was coming in on his second trip, and he was passing by Guadalupe, and he sees these bunch of Indians of women and children screaming, Taino, Taino. Taino means good person.
Mhm.
And of course, he collected them, he took them back to Puerto Rico, and they reunited with their family. And that's how we got the name Taino. But in reality, it's not just one type of Taino. There was an admixture even of different indigenous
Mhm.
on every island. Cuba, Dominican Republic, Jamaica. Jamaica had Tainos. My sister-in-law don't want nothing to do. She's Jamaican. She wants nothing to do with DNA because she don't want to find out she related to me otherwise. But we are all related. Okay, my tree proves that. The fact that I could take somebody and put them on my tree, and it doesn't matter how far or how close, I
Mhm.
could put them through documented roads into the tree, gives proofs. And I don't put documents for everybody. If you look, the
Right.
person that I copied the information from has the documents.
Right.
Because if I took time, the systems are slowing down. I don't know if you guys have noticed that I used the system used to test me to make sure I wasn't a machine every now and then because I went that fast. Yeah. Now I'm here sweating bullets, waiting for it to catch up with me. you
So,
know?
so I know that there was some question, there were some observational things in the chat that I definitely want to highlight. There was some questions in the chat. Rodney was sharing he didn't understand some of the numbers. So
Mm.
I want to just highlight what we're seeing as the range of numbers. So the segment
Okay.
start, the position start and the position end. So the
Right.
chromosome is, let's start with the chromosome. The chromosome, we know there are, because we're looking at the X chromosome, that's
It's
23
23rd.
chromosome, which is the female chromosome. So what she's saying is when we see someone's matching us on the X chromosome, that's a female chromosome. And so basically, I match a tuna on chromosome 23 in three different positions that are the segment starts and the segment ends. So we are going to do a check of this position start and position end so that we can take it further. We're not going to do it just yet, but I've took a screenshot of that because I want to be able to show how to take the position start and the position end. So everyone knows, I'm going to pull this up real fast because sometimes we're just more visual than looking at hard data and trying to interpret what it's saying or what it's meaning, right? So we're going to take a look at a position start and a position end, just as it pertains to what this number means. And I'm going to see if I can pull up Zoila, a Bibi, because it really, so I've been speaking to the group about using DNA Painter. Gedmatch has a free tool that triangulates all of the segment start and segment end matches we have. So you can easily do it in Gedmatch. I'm just waiting for my computer to catch up. Sorry.
Yeah, no, okay, it'll get there.
Yeah, it will. So, but when it comes to so you guys know how I say everyone is lining up at the same position. So that all that means is that position has a number, a beginning number and an end number. So next to the chromosome in that list is what position am I matching this person on? And from the beginning and then from the end. And that's all that means. So I'm matching her in 3 different positions. So that just means that if I could find the right position that I'm matching a tuna, which I would now have to add her to my DNA painter, I can be say, so they are familiar with me showing this as a presentation. I match
Right.
all of Zoila, me, and all these people. This is how where we're matching. I just came here because I want to be able to show you, hypothetically, Zoila, Billy Joe Claggett, which is Crystal's husband, right here is that position, start and end. 24,667,300 to 27,971,502. The position beginning and the position end. So, like Zoila, and so all of us are hitting somewhere near this 24 million position, and this is how we're all related, everyone in this cluster. So DNA Painter is already showing me the clusters without giving me the numerical presentation of the cluster. All we're seeing in Gedmatch, this is the numerical presentation of that cluster, of the cluster.
Yep.
And
Which
there is
proves that it's a female.
And it's a female. So now there is 140 million to 141 million. So if I use this 140 million and somewhere, and now I know I need to add 23. I didn't do chromosome 23. Now I need to go back and add chromosome.
Nobody does. This is why I teach chromosome 23. Why I teach search the X chromosome. Very important.
Well, what I will tell you though is in the Gedmatch projects, 23 is there. 23
Right.
there. And so they know that if they go into a project and they go to a particular project, and like if I do the Catoctin project, I can say include. Right now, normally the default is to exclude 23. Now with what Bibi has shown us, we can choose to include 23, because had I included 23.
Okay. Can I include you in on a little something here? When you organize by the CMs. So you get from high to low.
Here.
Yes.
Yes. So there's definitely different ways. So for instance, remember the segment start and the segment end is the same thing as what DNA Painter is going to show you. It's just
Right.
a different presentation of that. But now that I know a tuna is on chromosome 23, all this is helping us to understand is the numerical presentation. And if we include that when we download our matches from the project, going forward, now we will be more empowered to figure out how a person is related to us.
Correct.
So this is just
and this is just the indigenous.
Yes.
this is just the if I'm right, she was a A2. Atudonaro was found in the Bahamas. She's a A2, but she was a Taína, 80% Taína. The
So she
rest was
should
all
be my.
starter.
I don't have Bahamas. I have Barbados, and I have
Well,
Jamaica.
it doesn't matter because the Taínos were all over the Caribbean. And
Gotcha.
like I said, many, you got stories of the Cree showing up with Taino women speaking Arawak language, which is what our language was,
Mhm.
an Arawakan language, because that's our ancestors. So
Excuse me.
yes, Ronnie.
Now, I want to mention something. I'm brilliant because I know I'm not. Therefore, I go to the people who are. Let me give you something to think about. Okay, when I do what you all are telling me to do, and I see start position, end position, B 37 something, and then I see all these numbers. Now, BB, um, I never took up stats and I never took up, anything. All I know is that I have 23 chromosomes from each of my parents. Okay, I got that. However, understanding the chromosomes and understanding all this data, our cousin, let me put it simply.
Mm-hmm.
These numbers and these figures and these segment thresholds and bunch limits and all this stuff, you would have better, and I know this is gonna sound humorous, but it's not. You would have better luck trying to teach me early Hebrew language
Ancient
than
Hebrew.
I have of understanding. And I'm trying to be a Christian, so I don't want to say what the what,
Yeah.
but but these numbers are simply, and I wish you could see my face because my face is like one of those cartoon characters.
Hey, cousin
So,
Rodney, cousin
yes,
Rodney.
I see the largest segment is 7.2 center
Morgans.
Morgans. I don't know what that is, and then it says total
Okay,
half mass
Hey,
that
cell.
is
That's
that is
cousin
big.
the
Rodney,
measurement.
can I just say this?
Oh,
If you would have asked me this information 5 years ago, I would have been sitting in your corner. So what you have to do is give yourself some grace and patience, because the more you hear it, the more you take in of it, and you try the basics, you will find that it will start to attach. Because I was you probably 5 years ago, not even
Right.
5 years ago. So
you
just
said I
be
have to
patient.
exercise some patience.
You,
Well, yes, that
with
is true. But
yourself,
right now, I
with
need
yourself.
deliverance.
Yeah.
Well, one thing about it though, right? Me, I was where you was 5 months, 6 months ago. I wasn't even 5 years ago. 6 months ago, I uploaded my Gedmatch, my DNA to Gedmatch a year ago. I looked at all of this stuff. I was like, I'm out of here. It was Greek to me. It was Greek to me. I'm out of here. There's too much science for me today. A year ago, there's too much science for me. I left. I went back to my looking at records and talking to my Alabama cousins and looking at records and looking for slaves. I went back to what was comfortable for me for the moment. When this year came and I discovered I needed to figure out who my father was, and I needed something that was going to better help me because I didn't have a clue, then I had to start listening and paying attention. Okay, let me go to Gedmatch. And I sat in front of Gedmatch and I said, Lord, help me. I got to get this. And so at the top of Gedmatch, you see that thing that right there that says watch video? On many of the pages in Gedmatch are videos.
I did not watch not one video.
I hear you, love. And I watch the videos talking about SNPs, and they always want to encourage you not to go there because you got to understand what you're looking at, why you're looking at it, and what to do with it. And when it comes to how we want to use the data to help further our enslaved research and our heritage, we have to learn how to utilize and manipulate the data to get a better understanding of it. But Rodney, you can only go there when you're ready.
Mhm.
The thing that you're getting out of being a part of the Catoctin group and anything that I'm doing is I'm gonna record it. It's gonna be on my channel. I'm telling you right now, go to the video. I went on Gedmatch, and if it had a video, I clicked it and I watched what they said, and I played around with it after they told me to look at it so I could better understand it for myself. So when Rhonda says you have to give yourself some grace, what she's saying to you is today you might not be ready, but it may come tomorrow, it may come next year. But at least the seed is planted in your head and in your heart, and you know where to go when you're ready. There's so many people who do not know where to go. They don't know who to ask. There's a lot of people who got the knowledge, but they want you to pay for it.
Yep.
And we're
And you know,
trying.
those people don't like me. I tell you, I've gotten all kinds of complaints because,
Oh.
um, yeah, because I teach everything for free. I do it
Well,
out of
and the
my
problem
heart.
I have is I'm doing the same thing you're doing, and I mean, I have my own people sitting up here not wanting to talk to me and telling other people don't talk to me. But at the end of the day, we are going to make it make sense, cousin. And at some
Yep.
point in time, they're going to have to be forced to listen. So, Rodney, I'm praying
By
that.
the way, first of all, I will watch the video. Y'all are getting me so emotional. And second of all, and don't laugh, Delta, but the only thing that I really truly knew a long time ago, I mean for a while about Greek is that they got pretty good salad.
I don't even eat their salad, so I'm more real basic. But so we just
Well, I was never mind.
we just need you because whenever we do the presentations, is there's something new that you're learning. One, be grateful that you are part of a group that gives you the opportunity to even hear, because sometimes we don't even get that, and we can go to some groups and some group meetings and we don't even learn anything new. So the goal of it that we know is you have a yearning to learn. We're just asking you to be able to realize and understand. I might not be ready to look at this today. Now, a year ago, when I first started this, many people knows Emily. She said, "Delbert, you got to pay attention to the segment starts and the segment ends." I said, "What?" And the Cinnamorgans, what? I said, "All I want to know is if I'm related." And then when I figured out how to start playing with Gedmatch, and I needed to go below 3 Cinnamorgans because a lot of people were not related to me, I said I needed to go low. Where can I go low? And then I wanted to take control over being able to understand and study this stuff. So I created a project. And that was why I have my Alabama group and I started a project. And then when I came to Catoctin, they already have a project. We're in a really solid, great place because we're in projects. We're clustering our information together. And so we have videos, we're teaching each other, and we're not asking people to pay us for this stuff. We are trying to build each other up. And that's what's amazing about this. But don't
That's the
you be
idea.
frustrated. Just have the patience to master where you are so you can go to your next step. When you're ready to get to step 8, because you're at step 3, it's okay. Step 8 is there waiting for you. And that's all we ask you to understand. Don't keep saying that this is foreign to you. You don't understand it. It's okay because one day it won't be. Okay. So, all right. So, Bibi, the next step so I want, okay, I wanted to talk about people started sharing in the chat. I wanted to talk about people sharing in the chat because that's cool, right? Shell is gone out there throwing some stuff. Oh my God. Amanda, me and Amanda already know how we're kin 1,000 ways. And Amanda threw in there, she saw some 7.1s. That's big. Because one thing that BB shared that I did not know until tonight. So one thing that BB shared tonight, I did not know. And so thank you for that. You don't see a common ancestor unless there are 5 and up.
Right.
So that is so helpful because one thing I would tell you guys is that when you remember, I've shared with you how we see a bunch of different chromosomes, and I see 3s, and I take mine down to 1 in the project. And when I see these lower chromosomes, I mean, these lower centimorgans that I'm related to you on, and I'm like, no wonder why it's not telling me what the common ancestor is, because it has to be 5 and up. Anything below 5, it can't tell us that who the common ancestor is, even though it sorts it accordingly. So that is huge helpful knowledge for me to understand, just me myself. Okay.
Right. And Gedmatch tells everybody, don't change this, but that's the purpose. And like I said, these segments, these SNPs are there. Because
Yeah,
if they weren't there and we weren't sharing them with one another, they wouldn't show up.
absolutely.
Now, Rhonda
Right.
didn't match Atuna Naru via autosomal. She needs to check her X chromosome next,
Mm-hmm.
just to make sure that she has a match. She doesn't have a match on the female side, because it could be only a female connection, no male connection.
She actually shared in the chat. She's related on her cousin is related. She
Okay,
did a search of her cousin's DNA.
right, okay.
So her
Which
cousin,
means her gene pool, she just didn't inherit
yes, she
autosomal
didn't inherit it. Right.
22 out of the 22, but she
Right.
still needs to check the X chromosome, because she might be a match on the female side.
And the other thing too, remember, guys, if you have more than one kid, check that kid. Because one thing I'll tell you, BB, is that like I've checked my ancestry, but I have a my heritage and a 23andMe. I check all 3 because
Yes, I do
they're
too.
very different
And
based on
and
how they
people that do tier one
calculate.
and they take a soup and make a super, everybody
Yeah,
that has made a super failed and ended up using their kits individually,
they messed it up. Not I have.
because they don't have all the information. There's supposed to be a mesh of information. Now
Mm-hmm.
think about, every company provides us the information in a different manner, right?
Right.
If you open the file for each one of them, all the information in there is in a different format.
Yes.
How is that going to mesh? How is Gedmatch going to mesh
Very true.
all that information? That's not going to happen.
Their calculations are very different, and so
Right, exactly.
that
So
makes
the only way to get the information properly is by actually looking at every single test that you've done
yeah.
with whoever it is that you're comparing with.
And I've gone to a group and they're like, I don't think you have to do that. I'm like, yeah, no. Because when you play around the way we do by looking at this kit versus looking at that kit versus, and then pay attention to where that kit was taken, you start learning that it does matter and it does make a difference. So thank you for that.
Right, exactly. So
Thank
it's almost like you can make a list, a unique list of all the chromosomes you share with that person, and the SNPs from where to where for each chromosome. And it's going to have different reports, because each company runs the test differently. Each company buys different. Like, for instance, my content slave is not in 23andMe. They did not buy his data. They have everybody, they only have a few, you know,
you.
but mine is not one of them.
Mm-hmm.
So anybody that looks at it goes, oh, you're not real. I'm like, I beg to differ. And I showed them my true heritage, and I showed them where in DNA we compare.
Right. One thing I'll tell you, Rodney, I do see in the chat, he was questioning the different columns of information. So anytime I've ever done like a session, I say the money is the chromosome, the segment start and the segment end, and mainly because the numbers can be confusing, but when you use DNA Painter or you use the Gedmatch tool to sort by that, and it groups everyone that you're related to between those numbers, then that's what those numbers are powerful for. The centimorgans, we know, is going to tell you what is the level of centimorgans. So we know Ancestry only shows you matches above 8 centimorgans unless you pay for Pro Tools, then they'll show you 6 centimorgans. So the SNPs are what we've been playing around with, 25 versus 100. Normally, I say ignore the rest of this because we were not at a level where we were ready to be playing with these numbers or understanding how to manipulate them or what they mean. So tonight we understand why changing the SNPs can help. Changing the SNPs is just like looking at 1 centimorgan also. It allows you to go lower. It allows you to see more of the value.
Well, those, like I said, all this information, these SNPs, they're there. Like, or else that we wouldn't be able to compare with one another. They wouldn't show up.
Right. And so generally,
But
right,
it's important to run the X
if,
chromosome.
if
Not
you
so
don't
many
look at
people run
SNPs,
the female.
right, if you don't look at SNPs, fine, then we don't look at the rest of this. We want to know all of 4 of these, and then we want the MERCA, the most common ancestor.
Now I want you to go back on your web browser,
Okay.
okay, and change the 3 to a 5.
Change the 3
To a
Can
5.
you
to
can
a
do that
5.
in the X DNA as well?
Yes.
Okay, I didn't do that.
Remember right here, the minimum. So she's having him change his minimum from a 3 to a 5.
In
Yeah.
the X DNA 1 and 1. Is that
Yep.
okay? See, thank you, Rodney. You helping me. Okay, so it has to be, you have to have at least one of the chromosomes 5, you have to have 5 or higher centimorgans. Got it.
Yes, to see the MERCA. So what she's doing
Yes.
now, she's forcing you guys to look at the unique number so that you can see where is the common ancestor for that
Yeah,
match.
I didn't realize we could do it with this one as well as we
Yes.
did with the other one. Okay, now I'm following you.
Okay.
Hi, I just did the Morgan thing with 5. It's not showing America, but it's saying the largest segment is 6.8.
Is that the only 6 in that list?
Yes. Well, there's actually 2, but they're both the same.
But it's not giving you America. Okay, that's
No, ma'am, it just says total segments 13.6 cm.
Okay, you know what? Let me do you. Give me your number. Give me your number if you don't mind it being a part of the video, Amanda.
No, I don't mind. I don't
Okay, give
mind.
me
It's
your number. Let's take a
E,
look at you. Okay. There. EF.
218 9309.
Okay, so we're comparing you with the tuna. We're starting with the 3 and 25 SNPs. Ooh.
yeah,
Ooh.
look at
This
that.
is what she's saying. She has 2 6 8s.
That is beautiful.
Okay.
So if we go to a
Even even if they don't give you an MRCA number
America, yeah.
with your X, the
Okay.
reality that you have 2
Oh, no wonder. Sorry.
chromosomes that go to above 5 is awesome. No, they're not giving, they used
So
to.
she has too many. Yeah, she has too many. If she had a 7, if you want to have if you want to push the unique one, but I'm gonna use Amanda because she
Just the
has,
fact that she matched
yeah.
a tuna with 6.8, is just incredible. Well, it just goes to prove my point. We all related.
And which person is this?
This is a 1,000-year-old Taína woman found in the Bahamas. 1,000-year-old Taína, 80% indigenous, 20% starter people, Asiatic.
Wow.
So yeah, It can't get more indigenous. And I'm telling everybody, we are all related. You just got to know how to look
And
at how we're related.
you're
Can
very
I just add this? You can search in location on Ancestry, and you can also pull up people from every continent if
yeah.
they're in your DNA match. You can always start with that. I pulled up my Puerto Ricans before the meeting, so
Goodness, I did that too. And before everything that I know now, that scared me.
yeah.
It's surprising. We don't know where it's coming from. So now
Right,
I will say, BB, your explanation is, I think, educated us as to that as a possibility. Because before I was like, who was Puerto Rican that is my ancestor? But
right.
to hear that they slaves were taken there, and then whether they left or left a child behind, it's very interesting to be able to hear that, because it sounds like I want to be able to real quick to show you guys this my tree, because when I was talking about the bunch surname with BB, and we're now, of course, we're trying to figure out where does this ancestral line lie, right? I have not added this where the far side, but if this is 5 generations and they were in Virginia, this is 6, this is 7, this is 8. So this is John Henry Bunch, Barack Obama's 8th great grandfather.
He's in my tree.
But do understand, this is 8 generations.
Mm-hmm.
So when BB and I said, "Oh, I'm somewhere near the 8th generation," it could, and I think Barack had indigenous. He had an indigenous American, in Native Americans in this line. So this is something to be researched. Again, if you do not have your tree line, I have said this in my training, in my orientations, or my sessions. If you have not built your tree to go far back like this, there
It
is
has to
no
go
way
even further
going to
back.
help you fill these gaps.
It has to go even further back.
Absolutely. So what I'm trying to say is, if you have see how I have all these empty gaps, add a mother, add a father on my maternal side. So, and actually the core of my tree is full. So when you have the core of your tree with a lot of blanks, you don't know where that particular person that's hitting you way over here as a possibility can be. If I want to know the Kettle family line, then I would need to take Thompson out, only look for Kettle, so that I can see who's the Kettle name I can pull.
And
Personally know how to find that if I'm looking for
right.
her.
And now the thing is,
Oh,
we're only searching in whatever unit you're using. If you're using My Heritage, you're using Ancestry.
Exactly.
But most people don't realize you make a little simple tree all the way up to your second great grandparent in Family Search, you have access to their vast database.
Yes. So the next level, because it's 8:40 now, I want to make sure that we understand the next piece, the next add-on to this is being able to see what Bibi showed was her African American heritage using the admixture. So now that we figured out the maternal connection, we've also figured out um, how to utilize SNPs, because we did not know any of this before. Um, so basically, one of the things she said is you want to come in here to your project, you want to be able to see the chromosomes and to see the heritage, our heritage broken down into the chromosomes breakdown.
Right.
So you
You will
just
see it in paint. They call them paint.
so you want to go to Admixture, which is a free tool in Gedmatch. Admixture, which is right there, Admixture Heritage, and you
Correct.
want to choose as the drop down Dodecad, Dodecad.
So now you
Then
want to look only for yours, do that one. And mixture portions with link to Oracle.
I
Do
don't know
just one.
any of
Do
these.
your number.
Oh,
Oh
Oracle.
no, I want to compare me with you.
Okay. So
Let's do
then do
comparison.
paint difference between two kits, chromosomes. Go down, down one
Oh,
more.
with all the chromosomes.
Yeah.
Okay. So you can do just yours, which is what she said,
I
and
defer.
or you could do yours against someone else's. And so we did do this as a session once before, but the way she presents this is different. So once I chose DotaCat, I choose the last option. I hit continue. So my kit, and now give me your kit again, Zoila.
SC 2269391.
And do we keep DotaCat as the option?
No, World 9.
World 9, right there. And like if I only chose Africa, then it's only going to look at our African breakdown, heritage
Right,
breakdown.
but look at the comparison in World 9. We're looking at the world.
Right.
All that brown, that's all the African that you and I share. She giggles.
Against all of the chromosomes.
All
Wow.
22 of them. Yes.
Wow.
And if you share a Tuna Naru's female, which I do as well, I'll give you any money if you look at our X chromosome, we will share there too.
Well, with the Toro, other than the female, she had a 19
Mm-hmm.
also, and then I shared the
Yeah,
female.
but you see all that brown, that's us, honey.
Good grief. We have a sliver of American Indian at, I think that's chromosome 2. Red is American Indian.
Yes.
So whereas
Mm-hmm.
Ancestry might say I am not American Indian, I can come to Gedmatch
You
and I
could
can
run
see
up
my sliver.
and
I can see my sliver.
mm-hmm.
So
Yep.
this is me
But you
comparing.
got it. That the thing is that you have it.
Yep.
And I just showed you how to check against an indigenous number to get the matching chromosomes and SNPs that you do have for the
Yes.
indigenous community.
Yes.
Because okay, so I've been into this over 3 years. And like I said before, the benefit was that I was a network specialist. I know multiple computer languages. I have an odd way of thinking. And it sticks. And it works beautiful for doing DNA and genealogy.
How interesting.
You see the red?
This
That's
is me in a Toro.
look at all that red. That's indigenous, Amerindian. Okay.
Oh.
Now let me
Because
tell you. Okay, you have a lot of indigenous, my girl, because I know, I know people that are registered in tribes, in Native American tribes that have less than you do in a pin. Okay, they got little dots like the top one, but
yeah,
that big glob at the bottom, yeah, that's what
chromosome
counts. Boy,
10.
they would pray that they could see that.
My grandmother, so my story is that in Alabama, there were the Muskogee Creek Indians.
Right.
I do have heritage out of Georgia as well, but my grandmother definitely has Muskogee Creek, and she knew her grandfather. So I'm trying to figure out that line. But what is so cool is that comparing mines with the Toro, understanding whomever we use, we can look
Uh-huh.
specifically at this chromosome. And remember, we kept talking about the segment start, the segment end, the segment start, the segment end. Well, the segment start
That's
is
the bar.
right. The
I was
segment
talking
start,
about.
number one, is at the top. When you're going all the way down here to the bottom, this is where the millions sit. So
Mm-hmm.
see where we're going to see chromosome. Hold on, DNA painter, me and you. I'm just going to go to chromosome 10 to see if there happens to be a couple of million in here. So with me and BB 6810 right here. So I would expect if me and BB was sharing the millions, and this is 87 million, but me and Arturo, her line was at the edge, the
Yeah.
bottom edge.
Mm-hmm.
My daughter is at the bottom edge. See how that name D goes all the way flat to the edge? Well, my
Yeah.
daughter and the Toro and me go all the way to the flat edge. Now, my brother Don, which is Don. Here is a me again. This is different kids. This could be where the Atura is, but no one, me and Bibi are not in this corner on chromosome 10. So now I know if I'm looking at chromosome 10 and someone in this far edge, that now I can look and say, okay, this may be where my match to these people and Indian heritage or Aturos,
Atuna.
what her ethnicity is. This is that connection and this is that line. So this is how we use those numbers to help us to determine where our match lines up with that person. But again, if your tree is not as full as you can get your tree, you won't know what to do. And this is Zoila's tree here. As you can see, her tree is very full. When I looked at her tree, all I saw was Puerto Rico, Puerto Rico. I was like, how? Right?
Well, that's my grandfather Pedro Martinez. That's my Martinez name, my father's name. All I know about him is that he looked indigenous, but his father was Spaniard.
Mm-hmm.
So, but he lived in the mountains.
I have a question.
Yes, Miss
Right
Samantha.
there where it says Maria D.J. Garcia, is that Garcia? Is that the person's last name?
Okay, Maria Dolores is her first and her middle name.
Okay.
Which one is it? It's not this one, right?
Yeah,
No, it's the
Garcia.
one right next to it.
Okay,
Down.
There?
all I know is that okay, Monserrat de Montalvo Garcia is my grandfather.
I'm still trying to find Maria.
That's interesting because I have a DNA match that has Garcia as well.
Yeah, Maria Dolores Garcia Martinez. So her marriage license reads Maria Dolores Garcia, her mother's name.
Mhm.
Before the U.S. took possession of Puerto Rico, it was first name, mother's last name, father's last name.
Yeah.
Then, once the United States took over possession of Puerto Rico, the conversion of the name starts. So, doing Puerto Rico genealogy could get a little tricky for somebody that doesn't know the details.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
that's the
Right.
So,
same, that's the same in Mexico.
right, correct.
Most South American, yeah.
Right. So, you bump into somebody and the names are flipped around. Now, you see the name Montalvo. I have it on both sides of the family. And almost every cousin that matches me on both sides of my parents because my parents were second cousins and
Mm-hmm.
had no clue.
Right, right.
Yeah.
It happens. So,
Yep.
And Montalvos are founding families to Cabo Rojo, which is the town that both my grandmothers and my grandfather on my mother's side are from. My Martinez Vicente, my grandfather, Jose Martinez Vicente, he was from Las Marias. But now
Okay.
I take this tree. I started, okay, type history in my tree. Like if you're looking for somebody. Find them tree. Yeah, do it. History. And these are all the historical people that are in my tree. I started with doing Puerto Rican historical people. Does anybody know what the cry for freedom by Imiterio Betances? Um, they all are related to me. They're all cousins, one way or another.
mhm,
So they all had to know that they were related. Rosas, Paul, they're all fall somewhere in relation to me. So I started with that. And then I kept going. And then I got into the indigenous group and the shortcoming that they don't have representatives in the groups to teach them to find their indigenous lines. A lot of them, they don't know how to use Gedmatch.
Mm-hmm.
So a couple of people, I had a couple of moderators mark me expert. So now I'm getting people just from everywhere, all the groups that I'm in. I heard that you could help me. I'm like, okay, yes, slow down. What can I help you with? And it's a 1, 2, 3 for me, but for them, all this information is priceless. And you could see now there's a group called Driggers. They came from 2 locations, one from Africa and one from the Caribbean. They changed their last names were actually Rodriguez originally, and they changed it to Driggers to sound more American.
Can I ask you about this particular one I'm showing, John Punch?
Mm-hmm.
So I shared with the group a couple weeks ago regarding servitude in Virginia and Maryland and how they were forced into becoming chattel slavery.
Right. This is part of the research, historical research of who is connected to me.
Right.
What is their This is why I don't just put their name, I put the history in their name.
So with this, what I wanted to be able to share with the group, because like I said, I had shared conversations with them about the Frederick County, the research we're doing in Maryland, and as it pertained to they were indentured servants somewhere brought in, so we was just having conversations about that.
You can see the name of the owner.
Exactly. Now, woman of Cameroon. Now, I definitely would like to have a conversation. Just trying to understand. So this is the Barack Obama line.
Right.
And she's capturing and I say to them, you always want to build a tree and document the first person who came to America, regardless of wherever they are, right? And
Mm-hmm.
because so she's done that, she's doing that, where we're seeing who the first person was who was free. And it
This
did,
is why my tree will always be public,
all right.
because my tree is in service of everybody that comes after me.
What's the name of your tree?
Zoila Martinez Montalvo.
Are there any questions? Are you guys is everyone clear on what we've covered regarding the SNPs, regarding the video will be available, but regarding the SNPs, manipulating the SNPs and what you're looking for, and then being able to use the ad mixture just to be able to see how you're related as far as how the heritage, how your heritage is distributed across the chromosomes. Because what's so great about being able to see that information, it's on one of these lines here. What's so great about seeing this information, right? We see it in 23andMe. 23andMe goes to show us ancestry is now showing us supposedly they calculate differently. That's why I never see Indian heritage in ancestry. I don't even see it in 23andMe because of how they calculate this data. That's why you want to use different systems to be able to gauge that information. And now what I like to do with this is the African side might be complex because there's a lot, but I can work on the Indian heritage. And then I saw yellow, which is I don't even know where the Atlantic Baltic is, but she has one
Mediterranean.
sliver.
Mediterranean. And
And if
who's
I can
there?
figure out where that is and who matches me at this position, and
Okay, suggestion.
mhm,
You want to look at everything that is a Tuno Naro. So take a Tuno Naro's number and
mhm,
put it in the first one where you only test her. So you
okay.
can see everything she is.
And I think I got to go to the one before it. So
Right.
it's going to give me, okay. So, here. So now we're doing
I
by
missed you one
chromosome.
question. No, up one, up one. There you go. Okay, continue. No,
I have it.
UK,
Yeah, I
8.
have it. I have it.
Okay,
And then I'm testing world.
rural, right.
Now I could probably test Africa to be able to see where are the African distribution.
Actually,
No?
she has to have Africa. Yeah. See, American Indian, she's 86.3%. And then that's everything else that she is.
Mm-hmm.
Usually I run erogenous. Um the highest number one
Mm-hmm.
instead of the decocat for her. No, go back one more. Go up to decocat and hit the one above it. Right. Then do oracle. Go ahead.
Hold on.
Okay, enter her kit number. Change that to K36. K36, right.
And if we want to know what K36 is, if you mouse over that, there is a explanation of the different options. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
okay. And then continue.
I like how they use the word amuse you. Like this is for entertainment purposes only, people. But it gives you an idea. You could take your own Gedmatch number and look at everything that makes you. Okay. So we're at 80.9% indigenous. We have Central Africa. We have East Asian, Central Asia, Malayan, and some numbers are not presented on the pie chart because they're too small to quantify. But those are all the regions that are tuna. Now go all the way to the bottom. Okay. No, they don't have it. They're taking it out. All right, Oracle is unavailable. Usually there's two yellow tabs. One says Oracle and the other one says Oracle 4 when you run an erogenous.
Mm.
They're taking it out because Atuna Onaru belonged to a science study. Now, just so happens, my cacique used to work for the Smithsonian. And when Atuna Onaru was found, he was part of the group that participated in her DNA research and in naming her. Atuna Onaru means first woman.
Mhm.
That's her name. So that's why she is the best person to compare with. She's 80% pure indigenous at
Mm.
minimum. And you saw in DecoCat it said 86.
Where,
So
where was she again?
she was found
Uh-huh.
in Bahamas. Yes.
But was that where they believe she was
She was
originated?
found in a cave. Yeah.
In
She
the
was
Bahamas?
found in a cave in the Bahamas. Um
Is
reason
there a research study of her that says she was found in the Bahamas, taken here, taken there, died here?
Yes. Put her name on your browser. She'll pop up. Tuna, you got it right. Okay, you see Atabe. So Arcasique told us a story that has been passed down through generations in all the Caribbean islands. So now they're saying Atabe is the deity and she was the mother of Yaya, who was supposedly a deity. These are people. These are our ancestors. Now there's a oral story that was passed down that said about that all the Taino men were without women and three birds came and picked certain men and made their private part. That's why you look at the bird, look at the things hanging on the side of the head. It looks like birds. And if you look at what looks like a private part, you see the eye right above it. That's the
Mhm.
third bird making the slit, making the taina women for the men. That's an oral history passed down.
Hmm, interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, they missed a child. They did not add Dexter
Okay, Rodney.
to the tree.
So I added the link to the wiki tree because it's definitely interesting to read. Interesting. Okay. So anyone else have
And you
questions?
see all the history of the Afro-Indigenous. And even my ancestry picks up the Afro-Indigenous in Puerto Rico as well as in the Dominican Republic.
Mm.
My cacique's wife is my cousin, and I had to go all the way to the Dominican Republic to make the connection. She's my ninth cousin.
So when it comes to my question, when it comes to the bunches and Barack's line, that
Right.
not this line. This is a different line. That's a question.
Which bunch?
Um,
If it's
Barack's
part
line.
of Barack's line, it's the
The
same line.
the birds and the bunches.
Most of the bunches I have are either for indigenous tribes, which are part of the Powhatan Confederation, and some of them belong to Barack, and some are not.
So apparently they were part Cherokee in
Cherokee,
let me see,
um,
100.
Tapuni, Powhatan,
Mm,
Moitoy. It was 30 tribes, okay? So now I got another story for you. Recently, another cousin bumped into one sheet of paper that was in a relative of ours, right? So I go and I verify the book. So then we go to the Library of Congress and we find the freaking book and we open a fresh page because of course the page in Ancestry was so copied over and over again. See where it says marriage, Mary Space Spears Sapuni.
mm-hmm.
So that bunch. So now in Native American, usually if let's say a male Cherokee marries a female Sapuni, the children they have are Sapuni, not Cherokee. The female is the one that holds the indigenous torch.
Mm.
My C1B2 line comes on my mother's side.
So Saponi is a tribe?
It's a tribe.
Okay.
It was part of the Powhatan Confederation.
Oh, goodness.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah,
how do they okay, so you're saying this line connects to your maternal side. Mm.
right.
Do you have them in your tree?
They're in my tree. They're on. If you see them there, they're in my tree, honey.
So if we look at yours, but that's what I'm saying, because when I look at your maternal line here,
Right. What you see is all Spanish,
right,
right?
right.
But I cross over. I crossed over to the Powhatans in three different areas. One, I did it with Pocahontas, Rebecca Powhatan,
Mhm.
Matoa. She she was married to my cousin Wolf, right? Her son is my cousin. So then West married a sister of Pocahontas. So we ended up back again at the Powhatan through another cousin. Um then one day I'm going down, I'm just hanging out, just playing around, and I bump into the infamous Martin line, which takes me to Pocahontas. And what was happening was, I have Irish
Mm-hmm.
in my DNA. So when I did my true ancestry, I mean, I had added a lot of Irish people that had married indigenous people that were related to me. Then later on, I learned that the Irish people were related to me as well.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so the problem you're gonna have with this is that, like I said, you find them, you're not gonna be able to tell how to go back without asking me to render a list.
Yeah.
Just easy. I go to the name, I click on the relationship, and it gives me a list, and I forward it to the person that asked.
Right. You've done that a few times. I didn't understand. I'm going to show you guys how she does that because that drove me crazy. When I did it, no one would tell me how. It drove me crazy. I wasn't happy about it. So no, I'm going to go back and I'm going to search for my little bunch person because I'm just that's her and my connection here. So I'm just going to go to the bunch person, whatever it means. But you don't have why? Oh, I'm not you. That's why I can't see it.
That's right. You
The
got to go
person
to
has
your
to do
own
it. The
tree.
person has to do it. Okay.
Right. So this is why, okay, unfortunately, even people that I fill their tree, I have to keep track of where I'm going because in order for them to certify that line, they have to go the same distance that I did. So they have to go relative by relative
Mhm. Mhm.
in order to register that with the AI for themselves.
I'm glad you said the word AI because I'm going to do this real quick and then we're going to go to real quick chat GPT. That was a question that was asked tonight, so I'm going to do that. So what I did is I have John Bunch in my tree, but if
Mhm.
I want people to know how they're related to me, let's say I was talking to him, I guess, I would click on this and this will tell me how I am related to John Bunch. And then people do all this copying and send this to you. And it's like, how did you figure that out? You're brilliant.
Mhm.
Oh my God,
Oh
you're
my God. And you should see my list because I am Taino. I come from I am at the end of the line of the indigenous.
So do me a favor. Well,
The
uh,
connections are distance. So I tell everybody the list looks longer because it has the parents twice.
mhm,
So the,
mhm.
follow the years. Don't follow the names, follow the years. And that way you'll be able to, you know, print it out and go down the list. And when you run out of your own relatives, then you can start adding my relatives. And then you
So,
put me on your tree.
so
That's the fun part of it.
ChatGPT is a free AI tool. And but what frustrated me, and I didn't realize, they want you to sign in.
Oh, is that is coming to light.
So, so here we go. So one of the things that I did, for instance, I was playing around. So ChatGPT is something that you can use. It's like a Google, but better because they research all these sources online and they're trying to give you information and people can do all kinds of things,
Right.
which is so interesting and so
This
cool.
this is where you take three people that you have their DNA, you compare your DNA against two others or three others, and you got the information from Gedmatch from the 3D browser. You dump that information here, but before you dump it, you ask her, "Can you tell me the correlation between these people?" And then you paste the information down, and it will give you a plain Jane English explanation of what you're looking at that you can't make heads or tails of in Gedmatch.
So let me see if there's so many different things you can
Now,
absolutely.
I have a little fun with it. Ask her, can you paint a Afro Indigenous woman?
Oh, don't you have to do it with a image generator?
Nope. Go ahead.
Paint and
Afro woman.
okay, I thought I had to choose on the left hand image generator.
There is an
Shell.
Afro Indigenous woman. The Juan Ponce de Leon and Christopher Columbus, when they arrived to Puerto Rico, they sang, and to Dominican Republic, the indigenous people were friendly, kind, and they had some had straight hair and some had curly hair.
So what I just did, we first told it one thing, right? And then you're like, wait a minute, I want her to be older. You're like,
Mhm.
okay. Then I said, okay, wait a minute. Can you make her hair curly? So this is a way to generate an image.
Mhm.
And so I'm sharing with them. So some of the other things, many people use this for research and so now even though her hair isn't even as curly, I guess they figured that was enough curls. Now they're
Mm-hmm.
telling me I've reached my image creation limit. And
Yep.
I have to wait until 7:58, which it is now 9 o'clock, but tomorrow after
Mm-hmm.
8 o'clock. So they're telling me I have to wait a whole nother day to
Mm-hmm.
get an image. But an image is different than text. So some
Right.
of the things that I've done is Rodney was so with Rodney's research, and I sent this to Rodney. I think I did. With Rodney's research, Rodney is looking at Culpeper, Virginia. And the struggle that I've seen with his research is that um, we all met with the session, and Carla said that those records were burned in Culpeper, not just Culpeper, Maryland. During the Civil War, during certain periods of war, records were burned, and so I came
Okay.
to that. Yes,
Records were burned, but
yes,
you have newspapers.
absolutely. So there's different options to be able to track a record. So I
Yes, because
came
I use newspapers a lot for looking for stuff that I can't find documents for.
right.
That they have been in Puerto Rico. There's about 200 years collectively of lost information between the Spanish American War, between fires and hurricanes. Many documents have been lost, but the newspaper documents are recorded in the Library of Congress.
Oh.
Yes. So, but you can't find one place, you go find something someplace
You
else.
have to find
The
this. You have to
documents
think of
out
the
there.
different sources that are
Mhm.
available. So I
Yeah.
came here because not only was that county that or that, and then I know some in not necessarily Maryland were burned. So I said, just tell me what were court locales locations that were burned during a period of time because to give you a broad range. So I said, tell me what I'm looking for. So then they came back with fires during the Civil War. Georgia, Columbia, Wilkes County. And I know that I've been looking for records in these areas, and I'm like, wait a minute. Okay. And literally, I've been looking for records. I've been looking at Barnwell for South Carolina research. And now this is making sense. How come I'm not pulling back someone's probate records or deeds? Because, and they're also saying, military operations. So some were not, up here it says some was not necessarily purposely burned. Those state buildings were used for war. So they just, they bombed the buildings because they were using them for shelter or they were fighting out of them. So they were not purposely burned. The buildings were just destroyed because of war. And so after I did that, it gave me 19th century. And I said, okay. Then I came back and I said, before Rodney, did the Culpeper, Virginia records destroyed by fire? Because I didn't see Culpeper at the top. It came back and said, yes, the records in Culpeper were partially destroyed during the war, not by fire, but because of the chaos and military actions in the area. Culpeper was the site of significant military activity during the war, as it changed hands multiple times. So this is
And
how,
Deborah,
yes.
Deborah, let me add one thing that just came to my memory, and that is some of the records that we are seeking, we have to understand that certain slave owners either buried them or destroyed them for two reasons. One, they didn't want the Northern Army to get a hold of them. And two, they didn't want their little secret about how they were really dealing with our ancestors to get out because there might have been repercussions that they and their families would have to kind of like own up to. And so just before the start of the Civil War, a lot of these records were lost because of the two reasons that I just outlaid.
So,
Right.
well, there's those two reasons, but this is literally telling you those buildings were used for war. So that's another reason why some of those records were lost. However, However, what Zoila mentioned and what ChatGPT is literally trying to tell you, where's some
Right.
you can look. So they're telling you, and what she shared, and I'll do a particular. So they were like, hey, this is what we got, but if you're looking for something specific, let me know if you'd like help. I said, yeah, give me some help, ChatGPT. Tell me more. So you feed it questions and you ask them to present information to you. So now they were saying check churches, and I don't know what churches there are. Check the Library of Virginia. Check the nominal archives, like the churches that were in those areas. So ChatGPT provides you sources of where you can look. So instead of all those sources, I said to Rodney, check with the Virginia Library. And then down here, I didn't mention the Library of Congress. There's the University of Virginia. Sometimes they may help you, sometimes they may not. But there are genealogical historical societies. Check there because they may have sources, they may have records and information. And then, yes, check newspapers. ChatGPT is a source that's helping to guide us. Oh, I forgot about newspapers. Now,
Mm-hmm.
newspapers.com is a pay service, but you could check with by calling. You could
The
call,
newspapers are available in the Library of
right.
Congress.
And right. And well, I think do you have to physically go or is it searchable on?
No, it's online.
There you go. And so now that's an online searchable source that you're able to research for records for the names you're looking for. Oh, look at those newspapers. So now we're going to look for Virginia. And again, it might not have been called Culpeper. It could have been a whole different location. So
Right,
we
exactly.
gotta know what was it called at the time that we're looking, or we're gonna get nowhere. And I don't have a clue what it was called. I don't. But this is just an example because I don't know what I'm looking for.
If you saw my tree on my mother's side, when Islam Montalvo, my second great grandfather, even though Montalvos are founding families to Cabo Rojo, I don't have anybody after Wenceslao Montalvo and Faustina Segarra. There are just some brick walls that are not, there's no documents. There's nothing to prove them to move them forward.
Right.
Yeah.
So what happened with him is he had people that assisted him,
Right.
and some of the things that I'm even suspecting for myself, until you research and you get to a point where DNA can help us tie ourselves to these families. And
Correct.
when we've exhausted everything we can exhaust, you know, then we can look for DNA to say there were no records because this happened in the area. Haven't been able to identify or find. However, DNA suggests this is what I have to go by. And then that's where you will stay stuck because of that. And you may not be able to find that slave person, but
Hmm.
you can't stay stuck on a line. You have to work the ones that are easier. And the more you work the ones that are easier, the more you document, then you get better at where to look for where to look for the information and things.
Right.
So that's why I said, like I'm sure Bibi did. She got stuck. She couldn't go no more. And we can see, she is researching deeply in all over places. Like, thank you for that, Bibi. Sometimes we just may be stuck. But
Right. It's called a brick wall.
yeah,
If you reach a brick wall and you have exhausted every means of research, you cannot push it. You got to let time go by. You never know when a document might be found somewhere. You know, those are just, or right now, Family Search has a area where it has a bunch of books you could read on different regions and different families. Sometimes type the name of the person you're looking for in the search, and books that have them will show up on the list. Well, there were lots of books that were available, and now all of a sudden, many of those books are being marked, old books, okay, are being marked copyrighted. Why? Because new authors are making new books and they want to sell the new books. So they stop sharing the old ones with the same information that the new books have.
Okay, so Rodney, have you ever looked? Okay, so I just did a search in Ancestry for Washingtons and Culpeper.
Mm-hmm.
You have one person who's managing two kids. Have you seen this?
Yes, I have. And in fact, I tried to reach out to these two people and have not heard anything from them.
Okay,
Oh,
so
I see you, Rodney.
so he has because I'm temporarily paying for Pro Tools. So with Pro Tools, I'm able to see other people, other cousins.
Right.
Now, one of the things I'm looking for on purpose, I'm not looking for your African American cousins. I want to be able to see, are there any European cousins who are strictly
Duckworth.
European
Duckworth. That's a very American name.
in that area? Duckworth, yes, very true. And might they happen to have a tree? So Miss Duckworth has no Nigerian, no Afrocentric. She's strictly Denmark, German, Scotland, and England.
But
So
she has Indigenous America, North America.
she does. She
No,
doesn't.
that's
She doesn't.
no, that's Rodney.
Rodney does. Yeah, Rodney does.
She has Ireland, Wales. She has
Just the top.
Central Europe.
And she has the top in Ireland, Wales. Yep, Central and
Yeah.
Eastern Europe. So she has no Afrocentric. So what that basically means, I don't know what her tree looks like.
Mm-hmm.
She's not giving up a lot.
Okay, Duckworth is not her name. Her last name is Clark. So she's related to him, most likely on the indigenous side. It's just not showing up
Didn't have well, yeah, or
via DNA.
the indigenous stuff. Yeah, and she didn't add
Wait a
enough.
minute, how did you know that her last name was Clark?
Joseph Clark Dean is her grandfather. Dean, Alexander.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you could follow those last names, and I give you any money that if we follow that tree properly, because they didn't do it, we'll bump into indigenous lines.
Another thing too is, and see, Rodney doesn't have Pro Tools, but with Pro Tools, this is showing an Alabama connection, which he does have Alabama connections.
Right, exactly.
So this could be pulling more of your Alabama connection, even though these are people related to, well, maybe, that's what you thought Duckworth was a indigenous name, Native name?
No, Duckworth, you thought it was a very American name. That's why you clicked on her. But her last name is Dean.
Honey, I was looking at her picture.
Yeah.
I was purposely looking to see is he related to so the struggle.
And the thing is, the color of our skin doesn't matter.
No, that's true, but it's a good start. You see that face? It's a good
Yeah.
start.
You're terrible.
When we're trying to determine.
Oh, look, Patsy Bird.
I'll go back.
Who's Patsy Bird?
That's a relative of his.
Yes. So yeah, I don't see anything that's Native American. I mean,
Patsy Bird is a relative of whose?
American. Hold on. Pat right there, Patsy Bird Perry. So she married, and that's on her father's side. Oh, on Rodney's father's side is how you're related to her. And you're related to him on your father's side. But however it be, one thing about Pro Tools, people may have terrible trees. I tend to find people with terrible trees. So they're choosing not to do the other side, so you might be on the other side. Sometimes that's what happens with a lot of their trees. But I think we got some amazing things out of the sessions tonight. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you guys for coming on a Sunday. Thank you, Miss Bibi, because this has been amazing for us to be able to learn the skills you've given us, because there's some things we don't know, and I did not even know myself at all. And so now we have some tools to take us further in our research. And I know that was what your goal was with what you wanted to achieve. But all right, gang. So thank you so much.